France has long been a major player on the world stage, with a history that spans over 2 millennia. It has been shaped by conquests, revolutions, and cultural transformations. From the Celtic tribes of ancient Gaul to the French Revolution, Napoleonic Empire, and its role in shaping the modern world, France's history is filled with significant events and personalities. Its story encompasses the rise and fall of empires, the creation of democracy, and the development of one of the most influential cultures in the world. Ancient Gaul and Roman conquest. Pre-Roman Gaul. Before the Romans, the area now known as France was inhabited by Celtic tribes collectively referred to as Gauls. These tribes lived in a region that extended across much of Western Europe. Although the Gauls had distinct cultural and linguistic identities, they shared common traits in their tribal organization, warfare, and religious practices, which revolved around Druidism. The Gauls fiercely resisted external invasions, including from the Greeks and Carthaginians. The most well-known of these conflicts was with the Cimbri and Teutones in the late 2nd century BCE, which they successfully resisted. However, their real challenge came from the expanding Roman Empire. Roman Gaul, 58 BCE 5th century CE. In 58 BCE, Julius Caesar began his campaign to conquer Gaul, a process that took several years. By 52 BCE, the Gauls, under their chieftain Vercingetorix, mounted their last major resistance at the Battle of Alesia. Vercingetorix's defeat marked the incorporation of Gaul into the Roman Empire. Roman Gaul, or Gallia, became a prosperous and vital part of the empire. The Romans built cities, roads, aqueducts, and temples across the region, facilitating trade and cultural exchange. Cities like Lutetia, modern-day Paris, Lugdunum, Lyon, and Massilia, Marseille, flourished under Roman rule. Roman influence extended to all aspects of life, including language, Latin, religion, paganism later transitioning to Christianity, and architecture. By the 4th century CE, Christianity had spread widely, and several Gallic bishops played significant roles in the early church. The collapse of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century left Gaul vulnerable to invasions from Germanic tribes, including the Franks, who would eventually shape the region's future. The Frankish Kingdom and the Carolingian Empire. The rise of the Merovingians, 5th-8th century. The Franks, a Germanic people, began to assert control over Gaul in the 5th century. Their most famous king, Clovis I, united the Frankish tribes and defeated rival groups such as the Visigoths. In 496 CE, Clovis converted to Christianity, aligning the Frankish kingdom with the Roman Catholic Church. This conversion set the stage for the close relationship between the French monarchy and the Church for centuries to come. Clovis founded the Merovingian dynasty, and under his rule, the Franks expanded their territory across much of modern-day France. However, by the 7th century, the Merovingians had weakened, and real power shifted to their officials, known as mayors of the palace. The Carolingian Empire and Charlemagne, 8th-9th century. The rise of the Carolingians came with Charles Martel, a mayor of the palace, who halted the Muslim advance into Western Europe at the Battle of Tours in 732. His grandson, Charlemagne, became one of the most important figures in French history. In 800, Charlemagne was crowned Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III, marking the foundation of what would later be known as the Holy Roman Empire. Charlemagne expanded his empire across much of Western Europe, including modern France, Germany, and Italy. His reign marked a cultural revival known as the Carolingian Renaissance, with advancements in education, art, and law. After his death in 814, the empire was divided among his grandsons, leading to the formation of separate kingdoms, one of which became West Francia, the precursor to modern France. Medieval France. Capetians, Crusades, and the Hundred Years' War. The Capetian dynasty, 10th–14th century. The Capetian dynasty began with the coronation of Hugh Capet in 987. Although initially weak, the Capetians gradually consolidated power over the centuries, expanding their territory through alliances, conquests, and marriages. The centralization of royal authority was a slow process, as much of France was still controlled by powerful regional lords. The Capetians presided over several important events in French history, including the First Crusade, 1096–1099, led by French nobles in response to Pope Urban II's call to reclaim the Holy Land. French knights played a significant role in the Crusades, and their exploits were immortalized in both literature and legend. The Hundred Years' War, 1337 to 1453, one of the most defining conflicts of medieval France was the Hundred Years' War, a protracted series of battles between England and France over claims to the French throne. The war began in 1337 when Edward III of England claimed the French crown through his mother's line. The war ebbed and flowed for over a century, with both sides experiencing periods of victory and defeat. The turning point came with the emergence of Joan of Arc, a peasant girl who claimed to have received divine visions instructing her to support Charles VII in reclaiming his kingdom. Joan's leadership was crucial in the French victory at the Siege of Orléans in 1429, and her actions galvanized French forces. Though Joan was captured and executed by the English in 1431, her legacy endured, and by 1453, the French had driven the English out of nearly all of their continental holdings. The French Renaissance and Absolutism, the Valois dynasty in Renaissance France, 15th–16th century, the Valois dynasty, which emerged in the wake of the Hundred Years' War, presided over the French Renaissance, a period of cultural and artistic flourishing influenced by Italian Renaissance ideas. Kings like Francis I, 1515 to 1547, were great patrons of the arts, and France became known for its advancements in architecture, painting, and literature during this period. However, the 16th century was also a time of religious conflict. The rise of Protestantism in France led to a series of wars between Catholic and Protestant factions, known as the French Wars of Religion, 1562 to 1598. These wars culminated in the Saint Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572, during which thousands of Protestants were killed. The conflict ended with the Edict of Nantes in 1598, issued by Henry IV, which granted religious tolerance to the Protestant Huguenots. Louis XIV and absolute monarchy, 17th century. The reign of Louis XIV, 1643 to 1715. The Sun King is often seen as the pinnacle of absolute monarchy in France. Louis centralized power in the monarchy, reducing the influence of the nobility and ensuring that France became the dominant power in Europe. His reign is also known for the construction of the opulent Palace of Versailles, which became the center of French political life. Under Louis XIV, France expanded its territorial holdings through a series of wars, but his aggressive foreign policy also led to economic strain and widespread discontent. By the end of his reign, the seeds of the French Revolution had been sown, even as France remained the cultural and military leader of Europe. The French Revolution and Napoleonic era. The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799. By the late 18th century, France was in crisis. Economic hardship, inequality, and dissatisfaction with the monarchy led to the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789. The revolution began with the storming of the Bastille and the creation of the National Assembly, which sought to limit the powers of King Louis XVI and establish a constitutional monarchy. The revolution took a radical turn in 1793, leading to the Reign of Terror under the Committee of Public Safety, during which thousands of people, including Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, were executed by guillotine. The revolutionaries abolished the monarchy and declared the French Republic, but internal and external pressures led to a period of instability. Napoleon Bonaparte and the Empire, 1799 to 1815. Out of the chaos of the revolution emerged Napoleon Bonaparte, a brilliant military leader who seized power in a coup in 1799. Napoleon established himself as first consul and later emperor of France, expanding French influence across Europe through a series of military campaigns known as the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon's rule brought about significant reforms, including the Napoleonic Code, which modernized the legal system, and advancements in education and infrastructure. However, his ambition ultimately led to his downfall. In 1815, after a failed invasion of Russia and defeat at the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon was exiled, and the Bourbon monarchy was briefly restored. * The 19th century. Revolutions, republics, and empires. The Restoration and July monarchy. After Napoleon's defeat, the Bourbon monarchy was restored with Louis XVIII and later Charles X. However, their conservative policies led to growing discontent, and the July Revolution of 1830 resulted in the establishment of the July monarchy under Louis Philippe. His reign, while initially popular, was marked by economic difficulties and social unrest. The Second Republic and the Second Empire in 1848, a revolution led to the establishment of the Second French Republic and the election of Louis Napoleon Bonaparte as president. In 1852, Louis Napoleon declared himself Napoleon III, establishing the Second French Empire. Napoleon III's rule was characterized by modernization and expansion, but his regime ended with defeat in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. The Third Republic, the fall of Napoleon III, led to the establishment of the Third French Republic, 1870 to 1940. This period saw France recover from the war, experience significant industrialization, and become a major European power. However, it was also marked by political instability, including the Dreyfus Affair, which exposed deep-seated anti-Semitism and divisions within French society. The 20th century. Wars, resistance, and Reconstruction. World War I and its aftermath. France was a major battleground in World War I, 1914 to 1918, suffering immense casualties and destruction. The war's aftermath saw the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed harsh penalties on Germany and redrew the map of Europe. France emerged from the war weakened but determined to rebuild and strengthen its position. World War II and the Vichy regime. The outbreak of World War II, 1939 to 1945, saw France fall to Nazi Germany in 1940. The country was divided into occupied territories and the Vichy regime, a collaborationist government led by Marshal Philippe Pétain. The Free French forces, led by Charles de Gaulle, fought against the Axis powers and played a significant role in the liberation of France in 1944. Post-war France and the Fifth Republic. After World War II, France embarked on a period of reconstruction and modernization. The Fourth Republic, 1946 to 1958, faced political instability and challenges, including the struggle for independence by various colonies. In 1958, Charles de Gaulle returned to power and established the Fifth Republic, with a new constitution that strengthened the executive branch. De Gaulle's presidency was marked by economic growth, decolonization, and the establishment of France as a nuclear power. His departure in 1969 led to further political and social changes. Modern France. The late 20th century to present. Since the end of the 20th century, France has continued to play a significant role in European and global affairs. It has been an influential member of the European Union and a key player in international diplomacy and security. France has faced challenges including economic difficulties, social unrest, and debates over immigration and identity. Despite these challenges, France remains a leading cultural and economic power with a rich heritage that continues to influence the world. Conclusion. The history of France is a tapestry of triumphs and trials, from ancient Gaul to the modern Republic. Its journey through conquest, revolution, and reform has shaped not only its own identity but also that of the broader world. France's contributions to culture, politics, and society remain profound, making its history a critical part of understanding the development of Western civilization and global affairs.